Thank you, Dan. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to the Happiness Jungle TV show with yours truly, Lyn-Dee Eldridge, your Chief Happiness Officer. And you know, friendships are very, very precious. And I got to meet this fabulous lady who has already been on the show one other time, but she is so amazing, and we have built such an amazing friendship. She's an author, she's an inspirer, she's a speaker. She's out to make a difference in the world. And today we're going to learn just about friendship and so much more. And today's show is called Friendship. Friendship is a journey, and it truly, truly is a journey when you come to understand trust and loyalty and how you could really count on friends. And this is one lady that really inspires me inside and out. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Minx Boren from West Palm Beach, Florida. Minx, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I can see you, and I can see that smile.
I am so thrilled that you're with me for the next 27 minutes at least. And since we have spoken, you are just doing so many fabulous things. You are now, there's another book in the works, and I believe it's coming out next week. I want to talk to you about that. But share with our audience exactly what it means to have that friendship and to make sure that the journey of a friendship is really authentic.
So I have been blessed in the course of my life with so many friendships. Where I want to start is by telling you an aha moment, which is part of what my newest book is about, lots of aha moments. Years ago, I wrote a book called Vision Heart. And it was about looking at our strongest values. What is it that motivates us? What keeps us going? What keeps us alive? And we went through this whole soul-searching, deep inquiry into our childhood and the values we grew up with, and then the values of our adulthood, and on and on and on. When it was all over, the bottom line was, aha, my highest value is relationship. So I stopped making myself wrong for every time I failed to get anything on my to-do list done because a friend called with either something wonderful or something challenging to tell me, and I turned away from everything else, and we were just present to each other. So eventually I said, maybe I should find a career where what I love to do, which is to be in wonderful connective relationships, is what I do. And so I became a coach. And that was kind of this just, a whole other way of being.
Wow.
So
you have been inspiring me since the day that we met, and I think it's almost like a year and a half that we met. And again, just learning more and more and more about you, just learning about your gumption to keep on going to help the world be a better place. That is really my true love for you. And we've just created a friendship that I will cherish for the rest of my life. So I truly, truly appreciate you. And you're an authentic woman. And that's one of the things that I love about you is that you're authentic. And there are so many people out there that, like you shared, are having even challenges in relationships. And I like what you say. You are being there. You are present at the moment for when your friend needed to speak with you. And sometimes we just need to be an ear for one another, not always a sounding board or a voice. And that's one of the things that you are an expert in, huh?
What you triggered, what I just thought of as you said that, is there's a chapter. I'm trying to remember which book it's. I've written 16 books, so I don't know remember where they're in. But stop, listen, wait. So that it's when we stop long enough before we come out with all our good ideas and all our good answers, just stop and listen. What is somebody asking for? What do they need in that moment? What does friendship mean to them in that moment? And then wait until you get a clear inside answer, your true inner voice saying how to move forward. And usually it's really by just sharing love, because offering advice is very much like a pointed finger. It doesn't do anything for either of you. It's like, you should. Well, how do I know what you should do? All I know, especially as a coach and as a friend, is that if I listen, I will hear what you need next and come from that place.
Mm. I like it. It reminds me of something that I say and I practice and I preach from all stages is don't react, wait to respond.
Yes. It's the difference of when you engage your what's called your reptilian brain, and then when you let it go to your frontal cortex, which is where you actually can marry your intuitive, instinctual first reaction to a broader, more connective, heart-based response.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I want to hear about your new book. I'm dying to hear about this new book because I can't read it yet because it's not out yet. I want you to share what you would love us to all know about this fabulous new book that is coming out.
I think the first thing I want you to know, because it's the thing I'm learning along the way of doing it, is this book was actually first written, finished 2 years ago. It was put up on Amazon, and then there was a trademark problem, and I pulled it right back off Amazon. And the details of that are not important, but what I've learned to do in life is to stop and ask, if this is not going according to plan, what am I not seeing? What do I need to know or do differently? So I waited. I waited 2 years. I also broke my wrist during that time. I couldn't write. All kinds of things happened to conspire against this book coming out too early. And then actually a month ago, I was in Durango and at someone's ranch and had a couple of weeks just with nothing much to do, just quiet time. I pulled out the book and reread it. And reread it from where I am now, what I've learned, because we're always learning, and then rethought, how do I want to do this and say this? So I leaned it more toward a coach approach. I mean, the gift of the book is it's about questions, because a coach approach is really all about a process of inquiring. If I ask a good question, I should be able to shut up for 20 minutes and give someone a chance to process it. Then I know I'm doing my job well because I don't have someone else's answers. Mm-hmm. So the book is called Decades of Gratitude, Gusto, Grit, and Grace, because I'm writing it from the point of view of being 74 years old. So I've had a bunch of decades in there. And what I know is that those 4 G's, gratitude, gusto, grit, and grace, anchor me. It's when we were talking before about stop, listen, wait. Stop, listen from a place of grace, from a place of an open heart, from a place of gratitude for even being in the conversation, and move from that place always. And that's what the book's about. And it's 39 chapters in 3 different sections, all about aha moments when I learned yet one more thing about how to be or not be in the world. And not just my experiences, but I've been coaching for 20 years. And so it's a lot of my clients and a lot of my friends are all part of this journey. And what it's meant to be is just to inspire others to find their own gratitude, gusto, grit, and grace.
Wow. And I love it because you didn't quit on it. You know, most people, if they had to go ahead and put something up and take it down, they throw it in the trash. And I think to myself, that's silly. You know, maybe it's just time that you needed. So I'm so happy that you share that. And I hope that our audience understands that your ideas, your thoughts, and your planning, it just not be the right time, just like you said, because you still had to go through things. And now is the time.
So I'm sorry. I'll tell you one more story because it speaks to exactly what you're talking about. Now I've got it. I've got a new title. The whole thing's working, and I cannot find a cover that works. It's just not coming together, and it's becoming crazy making, and I'm not. So once again, I stopped. I happened to have 4 days off because the book couple that is working with me, who are fabulous, went away because it was their anniversary. So I had these 4 quiet days before I had to be on deadline. And I asked that same question, what am I not seeing? Why, if this is not moving forward with grace, then what is it that I'm missing? And at 4 o'clock in the morning, sitting with my journal and just scribbling and doodling, I came up with the title that I'm now using. And then once I had the title, the book cover just showed up. It's fascinating. There are so many serendipities in the world if we just stop, listen, wait until the right thing, until all of a sudden we know somewhere in our gut that, okay, it's right now. And then it moves forward.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always from head to heart to the gut. And the gut is the final. And I love how you said that. It wasn't until you came up with the title that the cover started to show itself. And I'll agree with you on that. With the books that I have written, it was the same thing. I didn't even have a title. I was just writing and writing and writing. And it wasn't until the end of the books that I said, what are these books going to be called? And it's exactly what you said. Just stop, listen, and wait. I love that. And it happened. And so I applaud you for that. And I'm so happy that you share that, because everybody thinks that it has to start with the cover and then it has to start with the ending. And sometimes that's just not the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes you think it has to start with the beginning, and sometimes you write the beginning last.
Yeah.
Because as it comes together, you understand your starting point in a way that you didn't before. It's a fascinating process if you can trust yourself.
The word trust.
Right, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no different than going back to the conversation we were having about friendship. How much of friendship depends on trust, and what happens when that trust disappears or hides for a while. I can remember a long time, very long time friendship. We go back, 45 years, let's say, something like that. And we had somewhere in the middle some hiccups, and literally had what we call the between years, where we simply needed to walk away. Something wasn't working. We weren't doing our friendship well. We weren't being in friendship in the way I didn't feel supported, she didn't feel supported. And so we walked away, and we came back years later. Actually, we came back in part because I heard that one of her parents had died. And even though we hadn't been in touch, I knew her parents very well for a long time. And I called and said, do you need anything? And she said, I need our friendship again. And she said, will you hear me out? And in that interim, she had gone through therapy and learned some things about herself. Mm-hmm. And I had made some changes in my own life and grown up in some ways. And so we began again. So friendships, we always think there's a begin, and got to be loyal all the way to the end. Well, yes. And sometimes you need to stop, listen, wait until, and give some space, some breathing space. What's that beautiful line? Let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let those spaces be filled with love. And so we have a way of what we think a friend should do, and when they should show up, and when they're doing it to your liking or to your specifications, without looking at what's so for them. What are they feeling? Where are they coming from? What are they making their judgments or assessments through? And it may not be the same. So you need to go back and stop and communicate with all the grace you can, with all the gratitude, with all the gusto for that relationship, and with all the grit that it takes to keep a friendship or a marriage or anything that's long time going.
That's right. Wow, you literally touched my heart, so much so that I have a tear coming out of my eye.
Oh.
Yeah, you did. You you made the Happiness Jungle Chief Happiness Officer cry because you're so spot on. And friendships and relationships, they can be very, very precious. And then they can go through, just like anything else, some kind of challenges. And when you take that break, and it could be just like you said for a while, but then there's a purpose and there's a reason why you come back, which there was because unfortunately the parent passed. All of a sudden it came back together. And it came back together because the both of you grew. Because if one of you don't grow, it's still stuck where it is, where it becomes back into the acquaintance mode is what I call it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just that bond. If the friendship bond is there, it's there for life, even if there has to be a break. But even in relationships, even in marriages, and I share this with my clients, you didn't know one another. You became friends. You became more than friends. You got married. Things didn't work out over the years. Something happened. And now you have separated. But why can't you keep the special friendship that was there at the beginning? Or do you just want to go back to being acquaintances?
Mm-hmm.
So there's many. Yeah, go ahead.
There's no right answer to that, ever.
There is no right answer.
I often kid around. My husband and I are married for 51 years, so we've been around together, and we knew each other for years before that. And what I will sometimes say is there are a lot of marriages in that marriage. You don't stay married for 51 years without going through some times when, well, things are different, we're different. I was 19 when I met him. I'm not the same person I was then. He's not the same person. So how do we do this newly? Because we need to reconsider each other. What's important to you now? What's important to me now? He retired and I first went on for a whole new career. So we had to, well, what is this going to look like? How are we going to juggle this? So we do that all the time. If we're wise enough to stay present, back to that first conversation we were having, if we're wise enough to pay attention to what's happening now and just be in that experience without any judgments about how it should be, or it used to be different. Well, I used to make a dinner party every other week. That was good. That was then. I had a great time. I'm really a good cook. And that's not now. So can you be married to me and love me if I don't make dinner parties? And we do it differently now. It's all of that.
It is all of that. And it's all about that flexibility of the adjustment and the accepting as we grow. And I applaud you for being married so long. We don't hear about marriages sticking and staying. Maybe it's because it's easier to get divorced. Maybe it was just such a challenge. But everything, it's work. Relationships are work. And you bring something to the table that I know other people, our audience, is going to, after they watch this episode, they're going to go, huh, and they're going to have their aha moments. And if they need to go for counseling or coaching, that's a beautiful thing because that's acceptance of growth. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes you just need something as simple as, I had a friend who called me, it was the Jewish New Year, and she does this every year. And she said to me, in honor of the year passing and the year beginning, is there anything that I have done that has upset or offended you? And is there anything that we need to do to keep our friendship solid and whole? Which led to a conversation, a beautiful conversation. And that's a nice thing to do, whether it's in a marriage. My husband and I used to kid around because we'd go for our anniversary dinners very often alone and have like this 1 year renewable contract conversation. Okay, so we're going to renew and what's not working and what's working. But it's the same thing in a friendship, to always assume that it's going to be the same. And also, one of the things we do in friendship is we sometimes, I don't want to say take for granted, but we back burner. When new things are happening and we're very busy, we just, well, they're there. Well, yes and no. So if someone pops into my head, someone did this morning, and I was concerned about how she was feeling, I just sent a text, you popped into my head, are you okay? And we'll probably speak in, yeah, I'm fine. Interesting, you popped into my head. I had a terrible stomach ache last night. So sometimes just listening to our gut, we know that something's going on, and we just feel that feeling to reach out and to keep the friendship new and fresh and alive, because it lives in each moment. It doesn't rest on its laurels, or it doesn't rest well on its laurels.
That is so true. And I live my life that if I think about you and we haven't spoken in some time, I reach out to you because there is a reason. There's something. The reason that you popped up into my head, we haven't spoken in however long that is. And I have got to reach out to you to say, is everything okay? How can I serve you? Is there anything that I could do for you? And inevitably, just like you said, whether it was a bellyache or something traumatic going on in their lives, there's a magnetic connection in friendship. And that's when you know the friendship is real and authentic, and it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. And I love that. And I love the gratitude, and I love the forgiveness, because when you have gratitude and you could constantly understand the value of gratitude. What does gratitude mean to you, Minx? What does gratitude mean to you?
It's an ongoing reverence and appreciation for the gift of life above anything else. Just you start there. The sky, the earth, the food that we get to on our table, all of that. But I'd love to peel the onion a little bit more on gratitude and look at that next level. So we understand gratitude in the big sense, and I'm grateful to be alive. And I keep a gratitude journal. I've been keeping a gratitude journal for almost 20 years now. So it could get really boring, because every day I could say, I'm grateful for my son, and I'm grateful for my friends, and I'm grateful for my husband. And that remains true. And in each moment, I'm grateful to my husband because today on the way home, he stopped at the grocery store and he knew I was running out of celery. And I have celery juice every morning, and just picked up celery for me to make juice. I'm grateful that he knew something that I needed and was willing to just do that. So it's very specific. If you keep a gratitude journal and you make it about what's going on just that day, you look back through the day. I'm grateful to Lyn-Dee because, one, you invited me to do this. And then more than that, I'm having such a good time. I hope the people who are listening are having a good time, because I'm just having this conversation with you. And if anyone's listening, I hope you're enjoying it, because you and I are sitting here smiling at each other and beaming at each other in the midst of all this.
Yeah.
And so that will be part of how I do my journal. Because gratitude is always, it's in the moment. What can I be grateful for now in the most difficult circumstances? My book gets pulled off the market. I don't have a plan. I break my wrist. I can't write. And then, okay, so what's the larger gift? What's beyond this that I can't even see yet? And can I sit and wait and then be grateful because the book that's coming out is just better than, not that the other one wasn't a good book. It was the best I knew at that moment. This is just better. Thank you, God, for getting me to wait long enough for exactly how I want to express my soul and offer what I have to offer to people. Gratitude.
I cannot wait for your next book. I cannot wait, because I've already read some of your books. You gifted your books to me, and I cherish those books. I just think that you are a woman of wisdom and knowledge. But more importantly, Minx, is that you are a woman that helps people understand the word change and to become present. And for that, because many people say, oh, I help people, but we don't always see the change. But you're the real deal. You're the authentic Minx. And I'm blessed to have you in my life, and I'm very, very blessed to call you a friend. And I am very, very grateful for every moment that we get to spend together, whether it's on the phone, whether it's having lunch, whether you're just in my mind, because when you pop into my mind, you bring a smile to my face. I'm grateful for that. I'm very, very grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I am grateful for you. And it was just, you stood up in front of me one day and said, we have got to know each other. And that was the beginning, which is the best way for a friendship to start. Someone to kind of invite you into their life because you already saw me.
Yeah.
And knew me in some way. Something about that radiated. And that was such an invitation for me to show up true and authentic.
Yeah, well, and it's also where we met. We met at the Happiness Club in West Palm Beach. And that was it. And then you spoke. And then I was, something just kept on. It was like a magnet. Pulled me right to you. And I said, this is a woman that I want to meet. Not that I have to meet, that I want to meet. And how can I serve and help her become whatever more that she wants to become? How can I serve her? because that's what I felt. I felt that you were serving so many, and you do. Well, how can I serve you? That's where I was coming from, a place of love and appreciation and gratitude and sincerity, because it's very rare that you're in a closed quarters that you could feel that magnet just pulling you towards a positive force, even more positive than me. So you gave me a lot.
Thank you. It's interesting when you say that we all as humans, how can we serve? It's so important. It fills our heart. It makes a difference in the quality of our lives. It leads to flourishing lives, which is a whole other conversation. But the other side of that, which you just learned again recently and have learned through your healing journey, there's that piece of how can I allow someone to serve me? We're so good at giving it and showing up and what can I do for you? And then very recently, and also when my wrists were broken, I can think of tons of times where I needed to ask to be okay enough, trust someone enough to ask and say, I'm not okay right now, or I need help right now, or I can't do this alone right now. And that's a whole other level of friendship. So it's sometimes way easier to give than to open up and just receive and say, okay.
Mm-hmm. Amen. And with that, we have run out of time. And I am so grateful that that's where we're closing off, because I think it's a very important component. And for you, Minx, I adore you. I worship you. I love, 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 love you. And I cannot wait to share lunch with you again. How can people get in touch with you real quick, Minx?
CoachMinx.com. CoachMinx. There you go.
She is a true gift and a treasure in your life. We never said that life was easy, but we did say that you could be happier. Contact Minx and you will grow beyond your wildest dreams. She's the real deal. Bye for now, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.